The Age of Disclosure, that documentary that's going to be coming out, hopefully soon. It's still being, the distribution still being figured out. You're going to see some really highly unusual things being said that I thought would never be said in any documentary from people in the know. Matter of fact, there was a couple times during the premiere when I was in Austin at South by Southwest when I saw it. I actually put my hands over my eyes. I, I couldn't believe things that were being said. I was like, holy shit, you shouldn't say that, you know. But
Yeah.
they did. And it's like, okay, for a long time. And what they're interested in, and they're PhDs, they're MDs, some of them have two PhDs, and very well versed in this, involved in really, unusual government programs that are out there. And you wouldn't believe how many there are. And it would, I remember getting briefed on a couple of them when I was at the agency. I was going, oh, I don't want to know anymore. I mean, it's too strange. I mean, the stuff that goes on. And
The UFO or consciousness stuff.
uh, not UFO, I would say psychic stuff, also extremely strange technologies that you would think, you know, wouldn't exist that they do,
That we have
yeah, yeah,
and we developed.
yeah, we developed or the Russians developed over years, but mostly us. When you get down, I mean, if you talk to Hal Puthoff or you talk to some of the other people involved, they were, involved in OSAP and ATIP, and they will tell you flat out, yeah, we have craft, downcraft, and yes, we have bodies. I've seen pictures. So I'm a believer that we do. Never physically touched them myself, but
You've seen pictures
uh,
of like a down craft?
yeah, craft. I just let that go. So can't discount any of that. People aren't lying when they say what they've seen, but they would be lying if they told you what it is because they don't know. They just know what they've seen and they can describe it to you and they can tell you what it is, but they don't know what's behind it. Yeah,
Yeah, I
can't tell
mean,
you.
what do you think the nature of that contact would be? And is the contact with the legacy program?
Well, getting back to what Peter said, nobody controls this. I mean, if anybody controls it, it's the phenomenon itself. Disclosure may not happen or may not be happening because of the NHI don't want it to happen. They're able to abduct you, take you away. They're able to, plant memories inside your mind. They're able to do this, that, and the other thing. You have no control over it. So there's a loss of control. People don't like that. They want to think that they control their lives. They get up every morning and make decisions. They can go here, there, and the other thing. And everybody dances around one another because they all respect the classification process. I mean, some of their knowledge might come from a particular program, others, from other programs. And just because you have top secret clearances doesn't mean you can actually talk about everything. You can't. You just can't. It's always compartmented and it's always need to know. Looking at me, maybe for like 10 seconds, 15 seconds, and then it just drifted right out through the wall/window and disappeared. I did what Robert Hastings called the meh, meh, what the hell am I supposed to do? Chase it? It was just everything just sort of said, to hell with it. And then I went back to bed and I went back to sleep. Next morning, got a phone call getting ready to leave for the airport. It was a buddy of mine at CIA. He told me, if you were planning on seeing Mark, he died last night around 2:30. I have no clue what the hell it is, nowhere to put it. I mean, there's literature on it, but, you know, people will ascribe, meaning to it. But I don't know. I don't know what to do. You just look at it and you accept it. It's what Dr. Jeff Kripal, called the supernatural, right? It's his term, which I always loved because it's part of the natural state of affairs, right? Because obviously you saw it, and it was real to you, so it's part of the natural state of affairs. But it's just a super nature. It's another part of nature that we don't quite yet understand.
I want to ask a lot of questions and give people the questions to ask, right?
Right.
Suggest lines of inquiry. So we were not trying to force a particular point of view down anybody's throat on this phenomenon. We were just saying, what if, and what about this? And this happened. Now what? Like the weird connections. I mean, the reason I got into this basically was because of the freaking Kennedy assassination, right? So
Right.
I'm looking at something completely different. And, and I, like everybody else, I'm going through Warren Commission stuff, and I'm going through all this other stuff, and I'm, looking at the background documents. I'm thinking, whoa, wait a minute. Who was involved? Guy Bannister did what in the 1940s? Maury Island, what was the connection? Fred Krisman did what? So by asking these questions, by looking at the data, you're prompted to start asking questions that nobody asked, right? Nobody thought to ask because everybody's in their own lane. Jim, stay
Yes.
in your lane.
Stay in your lane, Jim. Right?
Yeah, Jim. So everybody's in their own lane, and nobody's like doing the crossover stuff. No one is saying, why was Guy Bannister, who was like the central character in the New Orleans Kennedy assassination case, why was he in the 1940s doing UFO research for the FBI on the West Coast? It's like, what? I mean, it's like, and then they show up later in the 60s and they all know each other. Like, what the hell is all this about?
We have them on radar. We have pictures of them. And, they're not ours. But we have no clue whose they are. Just don't. They belong to somebody. There's somebody, obviously, some type of intelligence behind them. There's a motivation for why they're here. There's an intention. The capability is obvious. At least part of the capability is obvious. But we know they can fly, anywhere from 50 feet off the ground to space. And we know they can be totally silent. We know there's lights attached to it. We know they could follow you. They can do all kinds of things. And they can move in an instant. They've developed either a propulsion system or are able to manipulate time space in such a way that they can move whatever they want to do. They can move at their will, right?